To our next story. You know, communal conflicts are non-state armed conflicts fought between two or more social groups. Now, a resurgence of conflicts has been reported between the Ilobu and neighboring Ifon and Erin-Osun, I hope I got those right, communities in Osun State. The State Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolapo Alimi, has announced a reimposed curfew ordered by Governor Adeola Ajayi to run from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily until further notice. Meanwhile, the Ilobu community has appealed to President Bola Tinubu to intervene in the matter. Mayor, these are...
I'm particularly surprised. I'm surprised because things like this hardly happen in the southwest Yoruba land. The last time I used to see communal clashes like this was during the Modakeke Ife problem. You understand? We hardly have things like this. So it's so sad. I do not have the facts of what is the cause of that communal clash.
Otherwise, you are reminding me of Umuleri, Aguleri,
yes,
and all that.
You know, in that climate, it's an occurrent thing. It's something that's been there from time immemorial, and they have those clashes regularly. Like I said, apart from the Modakeke Ife, that's the only time you can see clashes between two communal societies in Yoruba land. It's not as if it doesn't happen, but it's not something that happens regularly. So for it to now get to a point that the government had to impose curfew means a very serious matter, and I think we have to nip it in the bud, because we cannot afford to start adding that kind of problems to our security challenges.
Because when you hear that, when you hear cynics say it is poverty, in this case poverty of the mind, that would lead to these things, we are wondering.
Yeah, it's been on for some time. I don't know whether...
Okay, you mean this particular clash?
Yes, these communities have been fighting over land for some time, you know. These things happen. If, of Erin-Osun, they've had their own issues, you know. Sometimes those issues are determined by the courts, and even when those matters are determined by the courts, they still find it difficult to abide by the decision of the court. So these communities have been at loggerheads over land for some time, and it didn't really start today. But I'm disappointed that for up to 15 hours, reportedly, the Ilobu community was under siege. Children were killed.
Wow.
Houses were set ablaze. There are videos, even some of the markets we can see now.
We're seeing them on the footage,
markets were overrun, and a former councillor was listed among the dead. What were the security agencies doing to have allowed this carnage to go on for 15 hours?
Yeah.
You know, people have lost their houses, they've lost their belongings. It's just similar to when criminal headsmen attack communities in the north central of our country.
Unchallenged.
They burn every house that they can see. People's shops were forcibly opened, their properties looted, where they cannot open your store. They set it ablaze. This was what happened. There are so many videos that I've seen, and I'm like, what is going on?
And these are supposed to be kinsmen. They speak the same language.
They are supposed to be brothers. They are neighbors. They are neighbors. A spitting distance from one another. So and the government of Osun State has to put on its thinking cap. We do not want this kind of killings in the southeast. In fact, it's like an aberration in this, the southwest. It's like an aberration in the southwest at this time.
Yeah.
It's not common. And look at the extent that the government of Obasanjo, working with Olagun Soye Oyinlola, look at the extent they went before we found peace. When you are driving through Modakeke and Ife, you still see relics of years of conflicts.
That's it.
Years of carnage. Buildings are still standing without roofs. Houses that were set ablaze. So now we are calling on the president, calling on the Inspector General of Police, the director of DSS. They need to do something quickly, because if this expands beyond this point, then it will be unfortunate. We will just have killings upon killings, you know, unending killings. And that's not what we want to see. So we expect that the president will step in, get the service chiefs, as well as the Inspector General of Police, get them involved, so that they can go and restore order in these places. And then NEMA should also step in, see the extent of damage that has been done, and see what remedial steps they can take to help people who have lost their homes.
Mayor, you and I should know by now that there's such a thing as a boundaries adjustment commission.
Yes, but you see, let me, to add to that, I also want to lend my voice to the fact that the president and the Inspector General of Police, who happens to come from the Southwest, must take these things seriously. We cannot afford the kind of scenario that we'll see in the middle belt part of the country. We cannot afford that in the Southwest. We cannot afford that. So it is important for them to try to nip it in the bud now. And why it's saddening to me is that there's no way we won't have boundary issues. But because in Southwest, unlike in most other parts of the country, almost when you leave a town in the Southwest, you immediately move into another town. You hardly traveled long distance before seeing another town.
Another community.
That's why another community. Because that's why you will see that a lot of communities in the Southwest, they are interwoven. You barely don't even know when you are moving from this community to the next.
So begs the question: do we?
So why should they now be fighting over land when they are apparently they
live together for years? They live together forever. These are not new communities.
Yes, they are not
that
new
means
communities.
they've lived together for years.
So this must be stoked from somewhere. Is it possible to get to the root of the matter?
The security people are the ones that can do that, and then the Osun State government too have to do. They have a job cut out for them. You know, because there will be disagreements between communities, but it is important that the government should be able, because since like I said, I didn't really know about it much, but if it's something that has been happening, I expect that the state government will have been in a position to try to call the two communities, the leaders in those communities, and try to see how they can reconcile them and make sure that they stop this, because it has been on for some time. So
in the last 18 months.
So it is important that government will be checking their duties if they don't do that. They should have been find a way to be able. There are traditional rulers in that place. Even the foremost traditional ruler in Yoruba land is from that state.
Okay.
The Oni of Ife is from that same Osun State. So I don't see why they cannot call the two communities and try to see what the problem is.
And more so in peacetime. This is not. We can't afford this one in Southwest. We've left that one long ago during the time of Miracle. Because what they've done now is so sad that you can attack a community and you'll be burning houses.
More than 100 houses burned.
We can't do that. We can't afford that in the Southwest.
For all you care, BKO, this man A, can be married to somebody in the other community.
Of course. You see, in some of those communities, we don't even have natural boundaries.
Okay.
Natural boundaries like bridges and the rest, you know. When a bridge separates you people, is very distinct. We all know that this is where your own land terminates.
Okay.
But in many of these cases, those natural boundaries do not even exist. But the people know that, okay, this is where their land terminates. By tradition, by oral tradition, people know these things. There are no natural boundaries, for example, in my town, because my dad has said I should stop calling it village. You know, there are no natural boundaries in my town, you know, that you can say, okay, this is where, but the people know where
to apply the bridge.
Yes, you see in some places you just see a signpost. Okay. Goodbye to so. You know that after that point, you are in another community. So the people should not kill one another over land. There is enough problem for the ordinary Nigerian than for people to be dispossessing people of their property, burning people's houses. Where do they go? Once you burnt a man's property, you've destroyed his means of livelihood, his means of habitation. You've destroyed. Where do you want him to go? He and his children. You are creating a refugee problem at a time that we cannot say we are at war. So the IG, the chief of army staff now, and the other security agencies, you move in quickly to that place and ensure that, and then the political leaders too, the political leaders also need to find a way to solve this problem. At a point we thought Modakeke and Ife would never stop fighting.
Oh yeah.
But they had many meetings.
Yeah.
And thanks to the wisdom of Olagunsoye Oyinlola, working with the president at that time, they were able to reach out to the Ogunsua of Modakeke. They brought him closer, and the whole thing ended. The whole war ended. They just solved the problem.
Yeah.
So something similar has to be done to put an end to this needless killing of people in Ilobu.
And I wish Governor Adeleke Godspeed, you know, as he makes to douse tension. You know, gentlemen, nobody wants to
He has to involve the federal government. If I were him, I would go to the president. Because they didn't solve the Ife-Modakeke problem without President Obasanjo's intervention. They had so many meetings, long meetings, some starting at 6 p.m. and ending around 4, 5 a.m.
Wow.
So he has to now go to the president and ask for his support. How do I solve this problem? Because you impose a curfew today, a curfew will not solve the underlying problem. They could still be back fighting the next day.
Yeah.
Okay then, let the debate continue, but ours is to give context to any story that